Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures. Welcome back to the shop and to the Purple Rainforest Polaris Sportsman. We've got a lot to do today, which means we've got a lot of parts. We've got axles. We have bushings. We've got little baggies of bits. We have brake rotors and pads. And we have grips. And on top of all those parts, we need to get the front gear case out, diff, whatever you want to call it, and find out why it just wants to live in four-wheel drive for eternity. We've got a lot to do. Stick around as we go ahead and get into it. So the last time we got into this here quad ATV four-wheeler rig we've got here, the Purple Rainforest, we got it out, cleaned it. Jim, the owner, he went through and he pressure washed all of the mud. It was a lot of mud. Got all that stuff off of it and allowed us to get a really good inspection of the thing. And we found quite a few things. Brought it back in the shop, changed the engine oil, changed the transmission fluid, drained the front gear case, and then realized we couldn't get the fill plug out, so it's been empty ever since. That's fine. Biggest thing is we know it's going to need axles. Showed you that in the last video, front and rear. Brake rotors. How many out there have seen cracks like that in your brake rotors? How does that happen? I have no idea. This thing's only got about 1,100 miles on it, so how does that happen? All three brake rotors are cracked, so we're going to replace those, the brake pads, the axles, the rear bushings around the rear hubs. Well, they're shot, so we're going to replace those, and we're going to put new grips on it. What else? Lower carrier bolts for the hub carrier, or for the hubs, hub carrier, whatever that is. I like to replace those because they break for no reason. They're not broken. We're going to get ahead of it. Then we got to pull the diff out, open it up, and see what's going on. I think we're just going to start at the rear end. We'll set it up, and we'll get to disassembling and changing stuff out. Excuse the noise. We've got some car washing activities happen outside. We'll just let him do the thing out there. That's a nice Toyota, and it needs a bath. Anyway, we've got together a selection of tools here, and you'll notice something different. We've got Aerogaduga machines down here instead of the electric Hercules, which y'all have probably been noticing in our videos. Well, there's a decently good reason for that. Probably not a great reason, but it's a reason. I bought an air compressor over a year ago now, did a review on it, the Fortress Harbor Freight Ultra Quiet, it says. 100 and whatever it is. 175 PSI, 26 gallon. Not for this video. However, a lot of people have asked for a follow-up, and I think I may have promised to do a follow-up about a year later. Well, it's probably a year and a half now, but that's all right. So, if you're going to test something like that and do a follow-up, you can't just make up things to do with it. I guess you can, but that's kind of silly. So we're going to use nothing but Aerogaduga machines on this and use that in part as a review for that. So that'll be a whole different intro and a whole different video, but that would explain why we're doing air machines instead of electric machines on this rig here. Okay, on to the work. Don't do it. Don't do it. Dang it. Okay. Where are we at? All right, let's pop off the sway bar thing. Well, oh, there it is. Found it. Groovy. There we go. Oh, yeah. We should do that. That's a good idea. Give it to me. Give it to me more. There we go. Wonder if this has ever been off. Wonder if this is the correct way to do a cotter pin. Who knows how to do a cotter pin the correct way? I sure don't. I just do it whichever way it works. I'm sure everybody's yelling at me for that right now, telling me all the different ways to do a cotter pin. Can I turn it? This has definitely been off before. Look at that. There we go. Give it to me. Done. Okay, let's get this off. We have to switch to the air cat. Oh, that's too big. That one's just right. That thing just scared the axle nut right off. Oh wait, I need the hose back. Okay, that loosened up the axle. The hub can come off. The hub's off. Hub looks pretty good, except for it's got a little bit of cobweb on there, and that's all right. Wow. Give it to me. Okay. And let's get these off. Yep. There's those. There's that. Now the trick is getting these barrels to come out a little bit. I like to use the bolt, get a little bit partway in there, and you can pull the barrel out. There we go. And then this should come off. There we go. And there's your hub. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We can put this. Well, I thought we could put that out of the way. Not likely. I don't remember that being so difficult on my other 500s. I wonder if I should take the lower shock mount off. Probably. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Do I have the tools here for it? Yes, of course I do. If I do the lower shock mount, then I can tilt the shock up out of the way. Why did I say that again? I don't know. Let's just do it. Oh no, it doesn't have pressure on it. Good. There we go. Oh, that bolt looks crusty. Ideally this thing should get probably all new bolts, but that's all right. Is there something? Can I zip tie that up? Can I do something to get it out of the way? There we go. Put that out of the way. That's fine. Okay. Now let's see if we can just yank this axle out of here. The answer is yes. Look at that. That's one axle over there and dead. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, we're going to change all the bushings around the hub carrier. They're a bit old and kind of rotten and, you know, just not great. They're coming out in chunks, which is fantastic. I'm not going to do the A-arm bushings. They're actually in decent shape. We're going to leave those be. We are going to take care of all these. There we go. Come on, baby. Well, that's a big chunk of mud right there. Look at that. A ding dang ding. We'll save that for Jim. All right. So I put just a just a how you doing amount of grease on the splines there. Just enough to make it go in there, hopefully a little easier. And we'll see. Using a dead blow so we don't mess anything up. Hit my thumb, great. There it goes. And let's give it a little tug just to make sure it's seated. Yep, lovely. Well, that's the axle in. I've already forgotten what part is next. Oh yeah, I guess we should probably lower this thing back down. Yep. Let's remount Mr. Shock there. That's probably a pretty good idea right now. It had a bolt in the nut. Oh yeah, there it is. Lovely. Okay, before we put the hub carrier back in, you can see not a lot. Well, there you go. That bushing, that one right there is what made me decide we needed to do all these bushings, because that one is almost non-existent. So we're going to pop these out real quick and, well, put new ones. Yep. Yep. All right. Where was I? Insert new bushings. Yep. Well, before I do that, I should probably make sure it's the right one. Yeah, that's a good idea. There we go. Turn the light back on. That's better. All right, so obviously this is going to go back up in here. It's a snugger, more snuggery fit, but it'll go in just fine. Okay. All right, let's clean off these things. Don't be afraid to grab one of your wife's favorite, bath towels or beach towels to put on the garage floor. She'll never know. Okay. Let's get some grease on here. Always a good thing. Get some grease there. With this bushing, you have to put in that barrel from the back side of it. So we're going to go ahead and set that on there like that. And as you know, that barrel goes into the casting of the, of the hub carrier. So with this, we should be able to just bam like that. There we go. Both sides. Now I'm going to reach into my bag of goodies, grab a couple of new bolts because I have trust issues. Insert new bolt. Start it by hand. There we go. Repeat on other side. And I'm going to save these old ones. The old ones actually look pretty good. So I'm going to save them for extra parts. You can see they look pretty good, but because of my trust issues, had to change them. I don't think these have ever been out. They look really good, which is surprising. I'm surprised they're not corroded. If you look really closely here, though, you can see some wear marks. And that's typically where these tend to break, is right there. Anyway. Yep. We've got this barrel that goes in here. That's nice, but let's put some grease on that too while we're at it. I need a glove. No, I don't. Let's just use a rag. Just a thin layer, enough to say how you doing with the grease. Insert there. That looks good. Okay, let's roll this guy up. And even this bolt looks real nice. These I've never had this bolt break. Okay. And now we can just tighten all those up. Okay. And that is pretty much reassembled. Obviously, we still have to put the hub in. Before I do that, though, I'm going to go ahead and grease that. Found these nifty things on the Amazon website, and it just kind of fits in there with the axle in place. It's got a Zerk fitting on there, and you can put your grease gun on there, and you can just put some grease right into that bearing. You know, Polaris will tell you they're sealed. They're not sealed. The inside race is split in two, and it allows grime and stuff to get into the bearing and grease to get out. So we're just forcing a little bit of grease into that same spot. It doesn't take a lot. A little goes a long way here. And then we just pull that back out. There we go. And now we can pick up our hub, put that back on. There's that. Now I like to use the washers that came off, because you get a new washer with your axle, but I like to use the washers that came off of it. Now we did get a new Kessel nut, so we're going to go ahead and put that on. It's a little sticky on the threads, but we can fix that up. I'm going to grab our new, not new, but this big socket, and there we go. Turn that in. And there we go, it's seated. Torque setting on this is, I want to say 80 foot-pounds on the rear, 70 on the front. So we're going to go ahead and lock the brake, torque this, and cotter pin it. This replacement axle, this nut is bigger. It's a 1 1/4. I think the one that came off is a, well, smaller than that, 1 1/8. There we go, we're torqued. Release the brake. And then we just need to find a hole that the cotter pin can go in. And it looks like our winner's going to be right there. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know what the right way to do a cotter pin is, but this cotter pin's just too short. Let's get a better one. We'll give it back. Okay. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, I was explaining I don't know the right way to do this. Since I don't know the right way to do this, I'm going to do it the way it was. It was just wrapped around the nut, kind of like that. And there we go. As you can see, rear axles on these Sportsmans pretty dang easy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the other side, but y'all probably don't need to see it. You probably didn't need to see it this time, because you've seen me do it probably maybe on my old 500, maybe on Ruby, I don't remember, maybe on the Hawkeye, don't remember that either. I know you saw me do a front axle on my 570. No, you didn't, because I didn't do the axle, I just put a boot on. Memory's gone, folks, but you will if you're paying attention to Billy Badass and that series of videos that seem to be never ending. You would have seen me do it there too. Exact same process, the same design of the suspension. So all of those words were to just tell you, I'm going to go knock out the other side real quick and catch back up to you. Well, now we can see the right side is finished, but we did not put the hub back in, and that's because we need to change the brake rotor and put new brake pads, because like I mentioned in the beginning, all three rotors are cracked, and it might be hard to see, but right there at the top on that top hole, coming from the hole outward, there's a crack. Again, I don't know how. There's actually a bit of a lip on here, which is crazy, and I just found another crack. It's fantastic. Anyway, we're going to do that real quick, and that looks pretty easy. All you got to do is unbolt these bolts and bolt the new one on. I know you're not supposed to probably use an impact, but we're going to anyway. Oh yeah, that's fine. Well, there we go. Lovely. It's sticky. Let's make sure it's the right size real quick. Yep, it's got all the holes. Fair enough. These rotors, they come from Caltrick. You know, I got them on the Amazon website. I'll put a link down there. You get all 3 rotors and all 3 sets of pads for $78 for this rig. And if you look, it looks like they're actually surfaced quite well. You can see all the cross hatching, and maybe they just did that to make it look good, but to me that seems pretty good. The thickness is at least as thick as stock. I can't complain. 78 bucks for all 3 rotors and all 3 sets of pads. Pretty good deal. All right, let's put this on forward. Let's put it on beginner mode, less power. I don't want to break them. And these are just 1/2 inch. I've got a 1/2 inch jobber right here. Oh yeah, that's tight. That's lovely. Okay, and this is ready to go back on. Of course, we did already grease the hub. So now we've got to put our pads. I'll be honest, I don't know if I know how to do these. Oh yeah, probably pull those. Oh, are you looking? Come over here. Probably just got to pull these pins. They unthread. How does it work? I've never done these before. So you've got this little clip right here. It's like an E-clip. It looks like you just can maybe take that off with your fingernails like that. Let's not lose that. I think we need it. And then on the back side, I think you can use a 3/8 size Allen, and it's going to be really tight, so you can't really break it loose, which is, you know, it's exactly what you want. What happens if we put that in an impact? So I'm not advocating you do it this way, but that's what we're going to do. Oh, it comes loose. All right. Excuse me. So we should be able to pull this back, and then the 2 pads, well, they just come off like that. We need to compress the piston. I've got a tool here for that, but this is for cars, and honestly, this tool's too big. It's not the best, but I think this will get it done. There's not a lot to grab onto with this, and ideally you want to do this in a way to make sure that piston goes back nice and straight, but I don't have the right tool for this apparently, but this is working. Well, these pads are thick. I don't know if you can see that, but we've got that thing compressed all the way, and there's almost no opening in there. I'm hoping this is going to work, because I really don't want to put the old pads back on, because that doesn't make any sense. And we just need to tighten this thing back up. Okay. And then I need to find my little clip. Here it is. And this just goes on here. Like that. I don't know why. Before we put that on, let's clean up this rotor because it does seem to have a lot of oil, which is a good thing. Oh yeah, that's drying up quite nicely. This now does fit. Voila. So now I'm just going to go ahead and bolt the brake caliper back up to the hub there, and you know, the rear end of this quad is done. All right, as you can see now, we've got the sway bar reattached and everything in the rear of the quad has been reassembled. The rear ends of these things are actually pretty easy, pretty simple to do. The only difference from one side to the other is the right side has a brake. Other than that, they're the same. But check this out. I got to looking at the axles we took out. This one here came off the left side. This came off the right side. But notice anything different? Yeah. They're not the same. It also appears they're not the same length. Also, along with the fact that they don't seem to be the same part number, brand. One of them's been replaced and the other one is not like the other one, so they're very different. These axles were clicking and clunking, and I'm just now looking at it. Even the axle shafts are different diameters. Notice that. So like I said, one of these is not like the other, and I don't know which is the one that belonged in this thing. Maybe neither, who knows. Anyway, I'm going to clean up a little bit and then reset at the front of this machine as we tear that apart. Okay, well, we've pulled apart the entire front end of, you know, the Purple Rainforest Sportsman, and I got updates. First, let's have a look at these axles. Now, I've lined them all up here on the floor, and I know you've already seen the rear axles and seen that on the rear, one is not like the other, and probably neither one of them came on the quad because they just don't look right. But now I've got the front ones down here, and, well, they match, but, well, let me show you. I don't think they're supposed to, you know, look like that. And then this one, you know, I guess it was CV boot by Bluetooth, I suppose. I don't think these are going to be rebuildable, not by me anyway. That's why we're replacing them. It's just easier, and it's honestly not expensive to replace them. Now, the axles we're putting in, I don't think I covered this at the beginning of the video. They're from the Niche, whatever brand. I used them on the front of Ruby Sue. I really liked them. They fit really well, and they seem to be of good quality. And this is, well, this is the box. As of right now, that's the most expensive repair we're doing here. $230, all 4 axles. The rears, they fit perfect so far. And, well, the fronts, we don't know. I will say, if you remember on Billy Badass video, we were pulling out the fronts, and we had to get serious with crowbar and big hammer to get them out because they were rusted in place pretty bad. These, a couple of yanks, I think a couple of hits with the crowbar and hammer, and they just popped right out. So no big deal. No big deal, and we got them out. Thankfully, because those are ruined. Now, brakes. I know we talked about cracked brake rotors. I got updates there too. This is the first one we actually noticed. So I'm going to hold it up right there, and you can see the crack right there in the middle. But nothing really compares to that one. It goes almost all the way down to the middle, which is, you know, why we're replacing those. That's awesome. Anyway, We're going to pull this diff out. I want to show you a couple of things on how we're going to do that. But really what's holding it in at the bottom, there's 4 9/16 bolts holding it in from the bottom. Those are easy enough. Of course, we have the breather tube, that's a disconnect right there. That's easy enough. But we have to pull the prop shaft off. To pull this prop shaft off, there is right at the tip of my finger where it's pointing right there, there's a little roll pin that has to be pressed out completely, and then this will slide off the shaft. Now this prop shaft should slide off pretty easy. The other end is a slip yoke back by the transmission. In theory, that should not be too difficult. To get that roll pin out, well, we've got a tool for it attached to an air hammer. Should make quick work of it. Now you do need to replace that roll pin with a brand new one, and I have a couple of extras from when we did the front axles on Ruby. If you remember, if you watched that video, the front axles are held in at the diff by roll pins just like that, as opposed to, you know, the way this is with the splines and the spring clip. Okay, I guess I'm going to just set you up so you can watch. Sure. There we go. That's the vent tube. Let's go ahead and pop that thing there. And this should come out pretty easy. Just kind of line it up in the hole there and get it. There we go. Easy as, well, pie, if pie is easy for you. And there's our roll pin. Nothing too fancy. Hello there. Okay. There we go. 4 bolts, no waiting. And that should be loose. Now the question is, how do we get it out? I have no idea how we get it out. It also might be easier to take the radiator out and take it out the front, but I am not doing that because that means draining coolant, and no, I don't want to do that. All right, well, I was able to get the prop shaft off. The slip yoke in the back is so dried that I had to actually use a hammer and a bar to push it back up to be able to pull that out. So now the diff is completely loose. Now I just got to figure out how it's supposed to wiggle out of there. Can it pivot out of there? No, I think it's got to go out the front somehow. Well, I don't think that's very likely either. That part's welded in. How do you get these out? Does the radiator actually have to come out? I don't want the radiator to come out. And I have a feeling that the prop shaft itself is in the way, even if I could get it out the back side. But I'm pretty certain I cannot get it out the back side. I really think it's going to have to come out the front where the radiator is. Or at least unbolt the radiator so it can move and give me room to maybe push it around a bit. All right, well, the plot thickens. I've obviously taken off the floorboard on the other side so I can get at the slip yoke. I've taken off these side panels so I can get to this. Unbolted it from up here a little bit so I can pivot that like that, and that bracket falls out. But then I can also move the radiator, so then hopefully we can pull the diff out. Sure. Curiously, it seems to have freed itself. Do I need to take it out? Is it screwing with me? Is all the banging on stuff freed up whatever was stuck on the inside? Because I'm turning this thing now and I'm not getting any movement on the axle outputs. And it feels okay. I'd still kind of like to get this thing out to have a look at it, but I don't know that we're going to get it out, that is. There's just so much stuff in the way. Yeah, this thing is free and it feels okay. How about if I turn these individually? Oh, that feels fine. That feels fine. And I'm not getting any movement. I'm wondering if all the banging on it has woke it up. Should I just put it back together? And then get that drain plug issue taken care of? I have more updates. Here's the thing. I know I showed you, I'm pretty sure I showed you, you turn the wheels in the back and the ones in the front, they would turn because the thing was locked up. I couldn't get this diff out. And I think the only way to really get the diff out is if you actually pull the radiator, pull the radiator, which means taking off, well, everything, taking off this, taking the radiator out, which means draining the radiator, and then you can get it out of the front. I'm honestly convinced that's the only way to get that diff out. But while I was messing around with it, I managed to turn the input shaft and it spun freely and the output things didn't turn. I think I showed you, no, maybe I didn't show you. I think I was getting frustrated, so I didn't show you. But I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. But here you can see this is the output shaft, and you can see I can turn it by hand. But I'm going to turn this input shaft, and we'll see, look, it's not turning. And it's smooth. So I don't know if there was just something kind of jammed up and all of the banging around and stuff. And also the slip yoke was gummed up real bad on the back end of that shaft, and it wasn't moving because it was gummed up, and we got it to free up. And I'm wondering if there was just some weird pressure on this input shaft or something, but now it turns freely. So I'm gonna go ahead and reassemble the rest of it. I actually put the radiator back where it was in the front. Anyway, you know what I mean. So I'm going to put the vent hose back on the diff, and you know the reason why we didn't finish changing the fluid in the diff is because we couldn't get the fill plug out, and I got a new fill plug, so if I've got to get in it with an extractor, then I can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and get that vent tube put back on before I forget. I'm likely to forget on that, and then we'll go ahead and fill it back up, and then put the front of this quad back together and then see what happens. So this is the plug-in. I can't get my, this is the plug in question right here. And it kind of looks like it's an Allen, and it kind of doesn't look like it's an Allen. An Allen just kind of spun in there, 8mm Allen. But you also notice it's got some jagged edges, so we're going to try a Torx 50 and see if this will do it. We don't want to tighten it anymore. It's snug. Give it that. Ha! Would you look at that? The Torx bit did it. If I'd have thought of this when we were doing it, I would have done this the first time. I do have a replacement for this. This is jammed on there. Now. Oh, come off, would you? Okay, I do have a replacement for this plug ordered. I'm going to go ahead and use it because I think this was just on too tight. And, well, I mean, it'll work. It's still pretty good. So I'm going to hold on to it as a spare, but I'm going to use the new one in there. So this takes demand dry fluid. I think it only takes about 9 ounces or so. But this is one of those cases where you fill it up until it starts weeping out. And you do have to get your hose pretty far in there into the right spot. Otherwise, it will weep out immediately. See, I know we only have about an ounce or two in there. And it looks like it's coming out pretty good. We're going to try to shoot some more in there and see what happens. Yeah, that's just coming out at us now. I think we're safe to call it full. We've got our new drain plug, and it's a different metal than the original one. There it goes. And something tells me that that old one was just over tightened. And it has a rubber seal, so you don't need to tighten it till your elbow snaps. You just need to get it snug, you know. Give it back. I need that. There we go. Got it. Lovely. So finally, that's done. Let's get some Windex on there and clean up our mess. So now I feel better that, oh, that just already boogered that up. You got to be careful with these things, apparently. Anyway, now I feel better that that's been done. We've got it full of fluid. I'm going to turn this input shaft here. Yeah, see, we're no longer turning that. Since apparently the front diff is now working and it's filled up, and we don't know why it started working, but we're going to take that as a win. Let's just go ahead and start putting this front end back together. I've already put some grease on the splines there. Just a little bit, you know, just to keep it from getting a little bit rusted in place in there. Also helps make it go in there a little easier. Get it nice and lined up. And we'll just whack it with our dead blow. And there it's going in. And there, it's all the way in. Not too bad. We're going to give it a little yank test. Oh, we just pulled it back out. It was all the way in. I just felt the clip go. So I guess we'll do that again. There we go. Now what? Oh, we got to put the suspension back together. Yep, that's what. Okay. And I kind of pick it up. It's heavy sometimes. So let's just drop that nut. Great. Try it again? Sure, why not? Because we did so great the first time around. Okay, here we go. Don't drop the nut. Okay, got a thread on it. Let's insert that. Perfect. Tighten up the top end. Can't really figure out or remember what wrenches I need for that. What size is that? That's 3/8. I need that. This is 3/4. I need that too. There we go. That's good and tight. That's the German specification for tight. Yeah, we should probably put the bottom on. Don't do that. Okay. And that gets this weird little castle nut. Which is a 9/16. We need a deep one, yes. Put it in forward mode. Good. And then let's put our tie rod back on. Yes. And just put them back on the way you took them off, you know. Don't get fancy. Don't try to invent down here. Just do it the way you took it off. You'll be just fine. Now this is the weird one. If you were watching on the 700, you know, the Billy Badass build, that's 15 millimeters and that's 17 millimeters because Polaris. Yep. That's pretty nice. Don't worry about that sound. It's nothing. This takes a cotter pin, and this down here takes a cotter pin. Probably should do that. Nothing fancy, just, you know, put your cotter pin. The factory one, it was just wrapped around the bolt, so we're just going to do the same. Sure. Now down here, I can't really see, so I'm just going to do it by braille. Nope. Until I find a hole that it'll go through. Nope. Yep. Ow. They're sharp. Ow, it's still sharp. Okay, here we go. That's good. Let's grease that. Put that on. Grab our grease gun, which is over here hiding behind the camera. We're not going to overdo it. We're not going to flood it. We're just going to get some in there. That'll probably do. Very nice. All right, I'm back. You don't know that I went somewhere, but I did. Don't forget, we have to change the brake rotor. We're going to change the pads. And I think we just insert Allen here. This is a 3/16 non-metric Allen. I think we just pull this one out, and it went somewhere. I don't know where it went. Where did it go? I don't know. We're gonna have to find that later. And I think this then just pulls out. I don't understand. Does it push in? What does it do? Somebody help me. I think it pushes in. And then you rotate that and take it off. And then you do the next one. Push it down. And then you rotate that and take it off. I think that's how that works. The problem is I've lost, it's a little set screw looking thing. That's all that it is, and I think it's just to keep that from pushing in like we just did, I guess. I don't know, it's a funky design, but it works. Oh, I need, excuse me, while I reach down and get this so we can push the caliper, or the piston. I need to push that back, otherwise this doesn't work. This is too big of a clamp. Push it in, shove it in, way in, boom. There we go. Now I'm gonna put this old hardware back on because I think I'm supposed to. So that should just do that, and I think we have to push these back. Oh, the hardware falls off, because why wouldn't it? Well, now I've got it crooked. There it goes. Let's grab the other brake pad and do the same thing. Let's grab the other brake pad and do the same thing, I guess. Okay. Sure. And then put our little set screw back in. These pads didn't look as bad as them pads off the back. Those things were worn all the way out. I am not kidding. Alright, so just like we did before, it's going to take these off. Not on, off. It's playing pretty notes, right? And this is the really good cracked one. Let's get our new one out of the bag. Let's measure it up to the old one, make sure it's the same. It's exactly the same. Has all the same holes in it. So, perfect. And this is just like it was last time. Make sure there's no cracks in the HUD, because dang. So just start all the little bolts. We'll turn our little impact gun to just enough tighten. Lovely. And for good measure, we're just going to grab, just like we did before, grab our little wrench, just make sure. Yeah, those feel good. Okay. Before we set this in here, let's go ahead and spray the oil off the backside. This stuff's also good for finding cuts you didn't know on your hand as well. There we go. That looks dandy. Now, our new axle did come with a new washer. However, when we compare it to the old washer, it's not the same size. Well, you're right there. It's not the same size, not the same thickness. So we're going to use the old washer. We're just going to do that by hand for now, because it's not like I can lock the brake and, tighten it. But what we can do is put the brake caliper and pads back on. These are messy. Let's clean those up real good. Yep. Let's also clean the front side of the rotor. Lovely. Okay, rotor should be clean and dry and free of debris. Let's grab this. Let's see if we can sneak the hardware back in here. Yeah, it went back in there. There it goes. Good. Now, somewhere around here is a ratcheting one for the bottom. Yeah. Make sure we've got it on righty-tighty. Okay. And last but not least, need to put the clip back up here from the brake line. because I almost forgot about it. Nut dropped. Okay, got it. Okay. And that just goes there. And just grab it with a wrench there. That'll do it. Well, I'm going to head over to the other side and go ahead and knock that out real quick, and I'll catch back up with you. Okay, well, I managed to go ahead and get the other side put on, and I just realized I forgot something. That's okay, we'll fix that. But let me show you what he looks like now. You can see the right rear, brand new brake rotor and brake pads, along with, of course, new axle. Same on the left rear, new axle, and of course we have all new bushings that surround the hub carrier. Coming around to the front, of course, once again, brand new brake rotors and brake pads and brand new axles. Same on this side, because you have to do both, if you know what I mean. But here's what I forgot to do. I forgot to put this clippy guy right here. So I'll do that when we go to put the wheels back on. But here's kind of the moment of truth. I'd like to know, is this thing fixed? Let's find out. Man, I'm not gonna lie, it does run good. Anyway, so let's just put it in low and give it a little bit of gas here. We've got rear wheel movage and turnage, but no front wheel turnage. Let it come to a stop. Let's switch it to four-wheel drive. And now we've got front wheel turnage. And that's on both front wheels. Okay, now we're in reverse. We're not turning, that's a good sign. We're in low. We're not turning, that's a good sign. That's a really good sign. Here's the thing, is I'm just wondering if it was a little stuck and maybe a little gummy in there. Fresh fluid, some knocking around a bit, knocked it loose. We're gonna keep working on this, see if it gets any better. Obviously it is more or less doing what it's supposed to do. Look, the rear wheels are still, where the rear axles are still turning, the fronts are not. That's a good thing. Yeah, lost my train of thought. It derailed, went off the cliff is what happened to that train of thought. I think it just needs to get ridden. All right, we actually have the body put back together on this thing. The wheels are set on. We just need to do the lug nuts real quick. Just give it a walk around. And let's go ahead and bang out all these lug nuts. And of course we have a wheel stud issue here, so we only get two. We only have one thing left to do on this here quad, and that's put the grips on it. And I think we're going to do that right now, and then we'll call it a day or evening, because it's starting to get dark out there. We're pretty much at the end of this project, but we're going to get these grips taken care of because they're just yucky. I've got a pretty proven method of getting the old ones off, and I just like to stick a knife on here and give it a nice cut. Because I don't know how these were attached. These are not the Polaris grips. Normally you can put yourself a little bit of air in the end, but these don't have the holes in there, so that's not going to work. There we go. So for grips on this rig, I'm going with the ODI Rogue. 3/4 flange, single ply grips, fits all 7/8 applications, including BMX, mountain bike, personal watercraft, ATV, thumb throttle systems only. Large raised pads for soft. Okay, that's enough words. I like them because they're very squishy and soft, and they seem to last a long time, and my hand is still dirty after washing it, so I'm gonna go get a rag and clean that off. I don't see any signs of adhesive, so we're just gonna clean these off with a little shop grade Windex. That'll do. Yes, very good. And these do have the hole in the end, so that may help us with putting them on. I wonder if we just get them started and we use air. That might work. Whoa, you almost went for a ride right off the lift, because for some reason I couldn't be bothered to set it down on the ground yet. Okay, so the idea here is you stick air to the hole on one end, hold the other end, and they inflate a little. Well, you probably couldn't see I was blocking it, but look how far we got that one on there. We're almost done with this one. Switch sides. Okay, that's awfully close to being all the way on there. If I keep pushing on this thing anymore, it's going to fall right off the lift. I think that's it. All right, well, we've come a long way on this quad here, the Purple Rainforest Polaris Sportsman. We've come a long way on this thing, and you know, I think it's time to send it on down the road to its owner. We've got, of course, the new grips. We just did that right now. These things are amazing. He's going to like those. Of course, we did the axles. We did bushings in the rear end. We did brakes all the way around with rotors. Played with the diff, got it to let go. And we're just going to have to ride it and see how it does. If it keeps acting up, obviously we're going to have to pull it. But I'm thinking we run it for a while, drain it again, fill it again, and just see how it goes from there. These axles, let me tell you, I don't think, you know, this was doing anybody any good. And then those rears, man, I showed those to you earlier. That is horrible. I almost dropped that on my foot right now, and yeah, I'm still wearing sandals in the shop doing work because, you know, I'm brilliant. But you know, I think that's gonna do it. I think it's ready to go back to its owner and he can enjoy it. Listen, I know this has been another long video, and I really appreciate all of you hanging out with me. Do the subscribe. It really means a lot to me. It's easy, it's free. You push the red subscribe button and you're subscribed. That's all there is to it. It means a lot to me. It means a lot even to my family. They're looking forward to seeing the channel grow, as am I, as you can imagine. But I think that's gonna do it. Listen, you ride safe, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye now.